It's here nor there.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been miserable, but in the end, I know it's gonna be worth it because we know that's what we need to do to get ourselves somewhere up into the UWA because they believe in us. Well, we're gonna make sure that we give them a reason to believe in us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to come back to that in a second, but I have a lot of people that would like to say hello, and I'd like to be able to get them up on the screen here. Want to say hello to one of my buddies, D'Angelo LaFlame. D'Angelo LaFlame, of course, I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He's literally everywhere, and he was in the Riot in the Ring for NEW a couple weeks ago, and he was also a part of this little thing called Summer Bash, which everybody seems to have had some type of role in. He was also in the AWL's Endgame over there in Alabama. He's been a part of TBW. He's been a part of his own company, Resurrection Wrestling, and I obviously think he'll be in other places. He'd like to say hello. Justin Parsley, who's, by the way, the PWF champion, but not the Mid-South one, but he's the other PWF champion, and he'd like to say hello, and he's the only three-time Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, and I'd like to say hello to Kat. They have definitely come a long way. Glad to see they're finally getting to live their dreams. What does that mean to you when you hear a comment like that?
That warms my heart to
that one we definitely take to heart. It's one of those. We've worked so hard for it for so many because I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Will, you've been doing it for what, six?
I think.
6, 7. Yeah, it's something like that at this point.
Time, that's to be in the yard for 4+ years and. You learn a lot. I mean, I think that you look back and, Brett, you said 4 years ago, so that means you started during COVID. I mean, that's kind of wild, right, to have started during COVID, and here you are, and, Will, you got a little bit more experience, but now you're starting to feel that you're becoming guys, even though you're still younger in age and still younger talents, that you guys are starting to gain that experience.
Yeah, honestly, it's definitely added on. The experience, we definitely are grateful to have it, especially whenever Eamon comes to the yard, because at some point, even if we did have to wrestle in the yard again, our bodies have basically tried to adapt to it, but once we
toughened up a little bit,
yeah, it's definitely toughened us up to an extent to where it's not as bad in the yard as it used to be first starting out. My first match ever was in SVBW against Logan Price.
Oh, I know Logan Price. That's a tough one.
Oh, my. I faced him for the Valor title, and oh, my, that ripcord elbow.
Well, you might have been feeling that one for a little while. But that's the UWA YouTube link. We'll come back to that, plus the T Public Store. I want to say hello to the man that hosted Summer Bash that everybody's talking about, Mr. Darkron himself. He's also the newest member of ROEW, which Mr. Howell talked about. He would like to work with ROEW. He spoke about that on the end of Monday's show. We'll have to see if that certainly comes to fruition. Want to say hello to one of my buddies out there, who I guess sort of is a part of XCW. He's a streamer, but I know him as Michael Blackheart, and he's obviously here. He'd like to say hello to you guys. Zilla is kind of like our resident bot. I'm sure if you've watched these shows, Zilla is always a product of these shows, and she just kind of says the same things to every guest that comes on. So we say hello, Zilla, and obviously Mr. Hal is here himself, and he had praised you, Mr. Anderson, a little bit on Monday's show, and obviously he'd like to say that I agree that you guys are the future, and I think it's interesting because it's a very difficult landscape in UWA. Aaron Blaze is the Heritage Champion. You got Chase Sullivan, a man you guys certainly I know have no love for, is the Southern Champion. You've had history with him, Brett, quite a bit. CJ is the World Champion. And you've got Sammy Slade, who's the #1 contender. We spoke about the Headshot Jay Cal. And I mean, you got some really, really good talents here. Bulletproof JD Mercer, a man that you know from SVBW. I mean, there's some really, really good talents here in UWA, and it's very competitive. And oh, by the way, Tristan Taylor is back, and he's the #1 contender. I mean, this is a really, really good roster you're a part of now. And you're going to have to be able to make headway against these big names I just mentioned.
That's one thing that I definitely have tried to work on myself is I want to be different from everybody else. That's one thing that I've automatically went towards too. And I do appreciate Jay Cal for praising me on Monday. That meant everything to me. That honestly did.
Because obviously, you know what? You're here, and it was a nice little segue, and I'm sure that you're as happy about it, and I'm sure Jake is happy to see you here. Will was well, and well, it's on kind of the same thing, but I definitely am excited to have UWA coverage coming up here. Let me say hello to some more people here before I come back to some different things. Soldier GP, of course, who is one of the co-owners of the other PWF, and he is the IMF World Champion, and he'll be here next Thursday because we have a whole IMF show coming up. We're going to have a slew of things coming up. He's actually wrestling his son, who's also a second-generation wrestler, and I'm going to leave that for next Thursday, but he'd like to say hello, guys. Yeah, it's always weird when you have the father-son matches, and then, that one's really personal right now, but I'll leave that for next week's show. We're obviously trying to stay on the same page right now. The champion is here. Will, I bring him up. Will, you wrestled CJ, and what was that experience like, and what would you like to say to the champion?
Oh, Lord.
I know we're live in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where wrestling matters. I know you're nervous, but trust me, the only person that should be nervous is yours truly, because I'm here every single day, and there is hundreds upon hundreds of people each day on the platform that would love to see me say something that makes me look like a complete idiot, because I do that anyway every time. So don't feel too bad. As Sean Adams would famously say, let your heart not be troubled. Let your heart not be troubled. You are live. What would you like to say to CJ?
Well, to CJ, I would just like to say I appreciate him giving me the opportunity to face him in the ring. I mean, that was one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunity kind of matches for me. I mean, facing somebody in his caliber, it was a dream come true for me. I loved every bit of that match. Even though I was partially injured throughout the whole match, I still managed to pull off a pretty good match, in my opinion, which I'd say other people probably tell you the same thing. But as far as CJ goes, I have all the respect in the world for him. I appreciate everything he and Jake and all them have done for me.
And his run has been so impressive. He's been champion for over a year, and he's done it against some of the very best right now. And obviously, I'll leave the topic of the Midwest Mafia aside for a second. But, Will, what did you learn then from that experience wrestling a guy like CJ?
I guess I learned to be ready for anything, no matter what opponent you face, whether it's CJ or Jake or anybody. I mean, you just got to be ready for whatever happens. But he caught me off guard a few times in that match. I will say that. I came close, but I gave him my all, and that's all I can do, man.
Did you get any advice from him afterwards?
Just to keep working hard like I have been, and everything will go great.
Would you one day hope to get another chance to step in the ring with him?
Oh, yes. And by then, I'm sure I'll be 100%.
Well, that's always good to know. And what are your thoughts then on Tristan Taylor and CJ? Tristan Taylor obviously just signed you guys along with Dimitri Green and PWF Mid-South, but what do you think about that? I mean, rather interesting match there. Tristan Taylor comes in, all of a sudden gets a title shot, and Sammy Slade, a lot of people feel should be it. He's the Co-Jamboree winner. He's a man that's been really red hot right now, but he didn't get the shot. He's got this open challenge. But what do you think what happens there between Tristan Taylor and CJ for the world title?
I'm not sure, to be completely honest with you. Just all that going on, who knows? Maybe it'll be a triple threat for the title, for all we know. But
interesting. Are you
that
saying
would be my guess?
That would be your guess? Okay. You ever thought of two, Brett, on that? Anything you want to say on Taylor and CJ? What do you think happens there?
So I feel like Slade should be in that slot instead of Tristan Taylor, because he did earn his way to the championship. He earned it at the Jamboree.
FD3, he wasn't pinned.
I mean, that is correct. He technically was not pinned at FD3. He was not. So I mean, I feel like he deserves to get his one-on-one championship match sooner than Tristan Taylor does. I feel like Tristan Taylor should honestly go after the winner after CJ and Sammy Slade.
It's a good point. That's actually a good point. I mean, that would make a lot more sense. I mean, obviously, ET has kind of talked a little bit about it on Newsflash, and you can see it on the Underground Wrestling Alliance YouTube page. Sammy Slade has an open challenge. So, I mean, I'm not going to ask you, Brett, if you're going to actually answer the call. It'd probably be smart of you not to do that, but considering what Sammy Slade's run has been on, but you have any inclination You have
That
any
path of
inclination that
destruction,
who will actually answer that? Who do you think will answer that challenge?
well, I definitely know that I probably will not, because that path of destruction, I do not want to be a victim to
That's
Sammy
what
said
I'm
right now.
giving you the advice of. So I'm glad that great minds think alike there. But somebody, for whatever reason, will answer that challenge. I have no idea why they would, but I guess somebody will, I suppose.
Somebody will eventually.
I'm not exactly sure who. There might be a name or two that might. I mean, I predict honestly, probably Chase Sullivan.
Really?
Honestly,
Interesting.
Sullivan, because he's the one who sparked the fire originally at the Jamboree, which Sammy Slay lost his title at, the Southern Heavyweight Championship.
Interesting. It's an interesting. I hadn't thought about that because obviously we was so worked up into this whole thing with Jake and Chase on Monday's show, and that's obviously they had a match at Anniversary 3 and ended in a no contest, and also had this black and white thing after the match that was a no contest. And what did you guys make of that before I get to some more comments? That was rather interesting, and ET kind of talked about that a little bit on Newsflash. I mean, what do you make of that?
I'm not exactly sure who it is, but I did recognize the mask in the first video. I 100% believe it was Pogo, but as ET announced earlier today, Pogo was no longer part of the roster, so that marks him out. So I'm not sure who else would be.
And didn't ET not say that it would be somebody that we didn't know? That's what it's kind of right now in terms of trying to get to the bottom. It's somebody that I think we don't know at the moment currently.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think ET said in the video that we don't know, that it is someone new to the roster, and right. I'm not exactly sure who it would be at all. If it's not Pogo, your guess is as good as mine, honestly.
And to confirm, it's not you guys, obviously. So, I mean, just
no,
nothing.
I got to ask the question. There's people out there that might actually want to know. And if you want to follow Will, you can actually do that because he's just on Instagram now, finally. And he's got an Instagram page, and you can check it out right here. And I just followed him on Instagram, and that's his page. So make sure you check him out. And we're going to take this back off the screen. I want to get to some more comments because people want to talk to you. Want to say hello to my buddy James Taylor, of course, the owner of ROEW. He's got a new channel where he's playing some music, almost like he's trying to go into Sirius XM territory. He says, hello, gentlemen. And Kat wants to say, yeah, 80s and 90s. I live close to Brett and Will. Okay. Well, Brett talks about it a lot. To him, though, I'm Alex because he knew me before I started going by Kat. So you know an Alex?
Yeah, I do. It's actually my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Well, how you doing there to your girlfriend? I hope your girlfriend's enjoying the conversation. I hope your girlfriend's enjoying this podcast more than the last one you did. I would hope so. Right?
She didn't watch that one.
I would say to your better half, don't watch it. Just whatever you do, just forget it. This one that's in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, really the only one that matters here. And if you haven't yet got a chance, give me a sub because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But let me get to some more comments before I come back to Mr. Blaze. Just popped in to support them since Brett has been excited. Yes, you have been, and I wanted to get you on. I know we were supposed to do it last week, but unfortunately I had a scheduling conflict. But it was, I think, better the way it worked out now because 2 reasons. Anniversary 3 just came out. Jake was here, and we had this whole ET news flash. So we actually had some stuff in the last 2 days to talk about in UWA land. So it wasn't like when you did that podcast, whatever it was, and it was like, it was like weird. It was just, a lot of just awkwardness. They say the worst thing in radio is awkwardness. For 7 months, I was on a radio show, and I would screen calls, and I would be like this, talking to obviously somebody through the camera or even a actual call. And they say the worst thing live is awkwardness, and in that interview there was tons of I can promise you're with a professional, an actual trained professional. Yes, I am actually trained to do this. He meant to say hello to you guys, so that's okay. James is a busy man. I have a lot of Aaron Blaze So let me start running up the Aaron Blaze comments. First of all, Aaron Blaze wants to know, going to give me time to put the matchup here on the screen between you and Aaron Blaze so I can get your opinions on Aaron Blaze. So thank you very much for the Aaron Blaze, obviously, is a good buddy of mine, and I want to put the matchup between that. Well, it gives me a minute here to do that. I have it right here in front of me because that's the magic of technology. And here we go. Oh, there we go. That's the one here. Well, no, that's, let me put it the right way. So I will do that here. We'll put it up on the screen in a second. Let me get to some more Aaron Blaze and ask your opinions. My honest opinion, I don't think either Slade or Tristan deserves a world title shot. Slade earned his way and lost. No rematch clause involved. So why the heck? First of all, what do you guys make of that comment? That's an interesting take from Mr. Blaze before I start asking you about your match with Aaron Blaze. I'm going to put it right up on the screen here. What do you guys make of that?
Slade didn't properly lose his chance. I mean, he hasn't had a one-on-one with CJ as he should. Because honestly, after I was eliminated from the Jamboree, I was watching from the back, and I was like, Slade's got this thing. Slade's got this in the bag. And then him and Skull go both at the same time. I'm like, damn. I've never seen this before. Co-winners for the Tennessee Jamboree. That's interesting.
You know, it's funny, we talked about that yesterday on Sportswire. We had on Cato, the controversial one, the Deathmatch Werewolf, Mac 10, the landlord of Sportswire, because they're a part of this All Wrestling Matters hardcore tournament hosted by our friends over at NEW. And I know Jake has had a lot of nice things to say about them, and they've really been just so remarkable to work with here on this platform. And we were talking about co-winners, and I brought up, well, the Royal Rumble in 1994. It's the 30th anniversary this year of Bret Hart and Lex Luger actually being co-Royal Rumble winners. Although technically, like, if you went back and watched it, they said famously that it was Lex Luger who touched first, but that's the magic of technology and such. But you had some co-winners before. Chyna and Chris Jericho were co-intercontinental champions. But there's Mr. Blaze here. And, just I'm curious, Brett, as I run through some Aaron Blaze comments in a second, talk to me about wrestling a guy that, really, I would say right now at the moment is the marquee traveling wrestler. I mean, Jack Delta, obviously everybody knows him. Yes, he was here in UWA. He was a Heritage champion, but Jack hasn't really traveled as much this year as he's done in previous years. He had a little bit of a stint in VTW for a little while this year and a cup of coffee in XCW. And I'm not even going to bring up XCW at the moment when it comes to that, but he's really made his home this year in his home state, 5 minutes away from his house in ROEW. But it's been Aaron. Aaron's the guy that's been really the one that's traveled. Him and D'Angelo LaFlame, they're the really guys that have probably put the most miles in this year. But, for you, Brett, what's that experience like in wrestling in Aaron Blaze?
Well, before this, I actually messaged Aaron Blaze a little bit before, and I was talking to him about his I think it was over on one of his shows on YBW, and I was telling him how great he was doing. I said, I love the work. It's honestly phenomenal. And I told him that I'd love to share the ring with him one day. And just about a month later, I was told that I was facing him at UWA Destiny. I was like, oh,
and he
my
just came in and won the Heritage title there, which obviously Tristan Taylor was the champion for, and he beat Jake Howe there. I mean, he's obviously a guy that comes in here, and he's got a reputation. It's almost like you're talking to him on Instagram, and all of a sudden you're wrestling him. I mean, how were you able to separate that?
It was very difficult to separate it. I'm not going to lie. It was he was wonderful to wrestle. I loved wrestling him. He showed me there is not just one style of wrestling. There's not just Japanese strong style. There's not just submission specialist. There is multiple, and he is all in one. He is no one-trick pony. He honestly,
that's for sure.
It would not surprise me by the beginning of next year if he didn't win the Tennessee Jamboree to go to Final Destination to become UWA World Champion. It would not surprise me one bit, and I'd love to see him do it.
It's funny you said that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think Aaron Blaze, to me, the sky is the limit. I think if he wants to, he could be the UWA World Champion because he's got a very good shot to win the ROEW World title on Friday. And he's the Heritage Champion now, but if he wants to, he could be the UWA World Champion. There's no question about that.
I could definitely see it. Absolutely,
I can see it too.
He has earned his stripes for a long time. I mean, he was wrestling in UWA during his first run whenever he was 16 years old. I didn't even start wrestling until I was 18, and this kid runs me to death.
Funny you said that. He's 19, and he's already wrestled in 19 companies. So, I mean, this is a guy who's been on this earth for 19 years, and although he hasn't done it obviously for 19 years, but he's
Right.
wrestled in a company per year in his lifespan. Think about that
Right.
for a second. That's fast. That's so fascinating.
It shows what passion he has for the sport. He's wanting to be the best out there, and all my respect goes out towards him because he is 100%. He is guaranteed a future of the Underground Wrestling Alliance. Guarantee it. I mean,
I think he's the future. I think he's guaranteed to be on the Mount Rushmore of the entire backyard of the underground wrestling circuit. I mean, this young man, I think, and I will continue to say it till the cows come home, is that he has gotten I will say it because I can say anything I want. He has gotten, I think, a bad reputation at times, but they don't know the journey that this young man has gone on. They don't know what this young man has done to move mountains for companies like UWA, XCW, his own promotion, what he's done there. And he's gone to places and he has gone out and made those companies noticeable. He has gone out there and increased engagements with those companies. Look at this relationship we have with UW. That's because of Aaron Blaze. I knew him in XCW, and he did a lot for XCW. And XCW they dropped the ball with him. I will say it till the cows come home on that, but that's a different show for a different time. But the point is that this guy has been in some big places, and he is a marquee draw. He is a marquee name, and I think that in my mind, his last 3 or 4 months has been the best work of his career because he's going in places like UWA, wrestling Jake, wrestling JD Mercer. We're going to see what happens with Delta, who was a former UWA star, coming up here on Friday. And I really think right now Aaron Blaze is the present and the future of this circuit. I think that to me, there's no question if this young man wants to do this till he's, who knows how long, they're going to basically put him at the top of the Mount Rushmore if that's something he wants to do.
I believe it 100%. He has potential to be, honestly, the greatest of all time if he really wanted to be.
He might start this Friday if he defeats Jack Delta, a man who was the Heritage Champion who fell short against CJ. Some people may very well say that Aaron Blaze will dispatch Jack Delta in the Mount Rushmore. Some people will say that Aaron Blaze, he'll be the greatest of all time. Some people have said this is the greatest match between two traveling wrestlers in this circuit's history. I mean, arguably, Jack Delta was the one first to travel, and Aaron Blaze is the one that's kind of been the one that's had that torch passed to him. D'Angelo the Flame is right behind him, but there's no question that there has been talk that this match between Blaze and Delta, in addition to it being two Heritage champions, one former, one current, that this could be a match to decide who's the greatest traveling wrestler in our circuit.
I 100% agree. I feel like he will be on the Mount Rushmore, if not the number one backyard traveling wrestler there ever is. I mean, he is an absolute talent. He is probably the greatest ever grace a ring as of right now within the underground circuit.
19, and the frequent flyer miles or the miles he's put in. I mean, he's 19, right? I mean, I was 19. I wasn't traveling to Tennessee to wrestle. I wasn't going out there to travel to Indiana. I wasn't going to Ohio. He's done all that already. Did it on his own. I mean,
it surprised me very well once I learned more about him. I was like, this kid's been wrestling since he was 15, 16 years old. And he's traveled more than I have in my entire life. And I've been on this earth for almost 22 years now.
I got news for you. He's probably traveled more than me in my life. And a lot of people I know. I mean, he's garnered more miles than people that are 60, 70, and 80 years old. I mean, I'm serious because of where he's gone. He went out there to wrestle. It's amazing. Guys like him, guys like D'Angelo the Flame, guys like Jack Delta who've gone out there and done the traveling. It's just amazing to me. Guys like Omen Black and Soldier GP who've now done the traveling work, and guys like Anthony Steele, guys that have gone out there and done the traveling. I think it's just remarkable in what they've done, and we're watching this match here. And let me get to some more comments from Mr. Blaze. As for Taylor, he has an actual rematch, so why is he ducking me? He talks all this talk about wanting a match, yet he's coming back after a whole other person because Tristan Taylor was the Heritage champion. That's kind of how Aaron Blaze walked in here. It's kind of funny if you think about it. I mean, to be honest, if anybody should be involved with the World Championship implications, it should be me. Ever since my return, I've been undefeated in one-on-one matches. I kind of alluded to that. I'm the closest person to being a Grand Slam Infinity winner, winning a championship from every single branch of it. Hell, I'm facing Jack Delta this Friday. I've done so many other things. Do I need to keep going? Started at 12, but who's counting? I said 13, but close enough. But the point is that, I mean, Aaron Blaze is a guy that certainly, Brett, you have to gain so much for. So I'm watching this match here, and I know you've watched it before a few times. The match is a couple of months old, but if I could, for the audience, what advice has Aaron given to you after this match to help you improve and continue this momentum you've garnered in UWA?
Always stay alert. Always stay alert in the.
You've talked about that throughout the evening. Will talked about the same thing in the CJ match. Not staying alert.
It's just he has shown me how much passion he genuinely has for the sport. For as much as he's put his body through, for as much as he travels, it honestly inspires me to want to do the same thing. I mean, I want to do very close to the same thing. It amazes me.
I ask you that question, and I know you're a part of SVBW. I'll get to that in a few minutes in RWA, but I mean, where would you like to travel? I know we're going to see you guys in PWF Mid-South. You're the newest signed members of the roster, but are there other places you would like to go, the two of you?
That's a good question.
I try to ask you questions here. This is not like the other podcast Brett did. I can assure you that.
Yeah, thank you. At some points, and I've talked to Will about this before, BYCW.
That's a good one. It's
on the other side of Tennessee, but it's still within the state, and it's definitely someone we can trust. Ran by Dalton Skull. I love Dalton to death. Just there's nothing bad you can say about the guy. If you try to say something bad about him,
Dalton's to me the most popular band in the circuit.
I agree. It's within our area. It's definitely, but in my personal opinion, it's definitely between him and Aaron Blaze. 100% within our area.
I think Aaron Blaze. Listen, I have an affinity, quote unquote, an affinity for Aaron Blaze to kind of steal what our championships are here. But Aaron is definitely, I think, right. Him and Dalton, you couldn't go wrong with him or Dalton. And I think BYCW is a great place. And they just had a show earlier today, which killed it. And I think that would be great. We get to see more of you and Dalton. It's a great idea. And we're seeing this match all unfold here. And we're here again on Sportswire Radio with the shooter Brett Anderson and the rising angel Will Jackson. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice. Figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. And if you're here on SportswireRadio.org, we are an internet radio station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We play music. We simulcast these shows. We also have wrestling. We have other sports podcasts. You have a podcast. You'd like to be on the radio, let me know. Also, hit the sub button for us on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. I'm closing in on 1,000 subscribers. I'd like to get a tattoo if I get 1,000 subscribers, but I think at this point, how long it's taking me, I might just settle in making a charitable contribution, but you never say never at this point. But obviously, we'll see. Maybe I'll get to 1,000 subscribers in real no time. But in the meantime, we are here, and please support our friends over at the UWA Underground Wrestling Alliance on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. So make sure you support them on all those platforms. And there you're watching a move like this. I mean, Aaron moves as good as anybody. Let me ask you guys this question, though, for you guys both individually. What are your goals here in UWA?
For me, Heritage Championship. As Jake said on Monday, he does see me becoming Heritage Champion. That is definitely one of my goals. Because whenever I first wrestled him for the Heritage Champion, and he told me how he feels on it, it's for the heritage of wrestling, as in technical wrestling, such as Bret Hart's my childhood hero, Blue Fez.
Well, you're sort of named after him, only with one more initial.
I am actually named after him. My father told me that a couple years ago. He looked at me and he just said, I wanted to name you exactly after Bret Hart, but I didn't feel like it was needed, so I put an extra T in there. I was like,
I think what was up with that. Obviously the investigative journalism from the last podcast you wouldn't have thought to ask that, but yeah, what a small world. I mean, I was just named after my dad, but you were named after arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. I mean, arguably the man that, when you think about technical wrestling, I mean, he literally, was born in a wrestling. You want to talk about Tristan Taylor is one thing, but obviously Bret Hart is, to this day, there are people out there that talk about him as their influence. So, I mean, that's, obviously speaks volumes. And Mr. Blaze obviously won. And I kind of think the Heritage title is your version of the Intercontinental title. I kind of think it is that workhorse title. It is that title that I think you use in a way as being the best wrestler in the company. And I think that that's obviously why you'd want that title. And so who do you guys think wins then? Mikey Reedy or Aaron Blaze? I mean, he made quite a impact there at Anniversary 3 after JD Mercer. What do you guys think on that?
So whenever I faced Mikey before, this man is an absolute madman. He has put me through absolute hell as a competitor. He definitely can be Aaron Blaze, but the fact of the matter is, can he keep up with Aaron Blaze? Aaron Blaze could. Oh my! There's just not much needed to say whenever it comes to Aaron Blaze and Mikey Reedy. Mikey Reedy definitely. He just got to keep him on the mat.
I mean, Aaron Blaze is Aaron Blaze. I mean, there's nobody like him. I mean, listen. I mean, he is a dream wrestler to wrestle. There's very few people, that you want to say I want to wrestle, and he's that guy. Mikey's obviously had some success, and he beat up Aaron after a match, but one-on-one is a different thing, and we'll have to see what happens for sure when it comes to that. I want to ask you guys for the remaining thing about a couple different things. First of all, RWA. RWA is something that you guys have obviously been a part of, and I know there's an anniversary, unfortunately, of an unfortunate passing a year ago. It was John Ransky, I believe it was. And talk to me about what he meant to you guys and just what his impact was in your careers.
So John was with us at the very beginning. Well, he was definitely with me at the very beginning. I think he was there with you. Oh yeah. John was there with me at the very beginning. Another one of my first matches at the first show I ever did for SWW. He was in a tag match with me, and I think it was actually against Jared Black and Logan Paul.
Well,
Jared Black.
I think I know Jared Black. Yeah, I think that name's come up before. It came up on Monday's show, actually. Yes, it came up on Monday's show. Yes.
Yeah, he had something going with the Black Bible, and I was like, why? It questioned me very certainly. But John was someone that he was definitely someone that you could always get a laugh out of. He would say the most random things, and one of his main lines was, "I feel pretty." I feel pretty. Dear Lord.
All it takes is that one phrase, and everybody just forgets what they're doing.
Yeah, and sometimes whenever we would have bonfires sometimes every other weekend in the summer over at the RWA filming grounds, and sometimes you'd see him late night dancing right in front of the bonfire. He was definitely somebody you could always get a laugh out of. But to us, he was basically a brother. We got really close to him his final years, and he was more than just a team player for RWA. He was just about the heart and soul. Genuinely, he was. He almost carried it to an extent. He just about carried it, especially whenever he helped out with the ring 100%. Me and him was out there, and he was like, "Come on, let's go to Lowe's. Let's go buy some stuff for a ring." I said, I look at him, I'm just like, "John, we don't need a ring right now." He's just like, "I said, let's go." And we get to Lowe's about 20 minutes later. I look at the receipt he paid for it. It's like almost $1,100. I'm like, "John, you're insane."
Over $1,000 he spent. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I'm just like, "You're working at a gas station. How do you got this much money?" I was like,
well, I guess it really meant so much to him. I know people on this platform joke, well, I mean, with me, people would say that'll be my lunch money, but but for him, he believed in you guys so much, and I know it's a sore subject, and I'll come back to UWA to end the show in a few minutes. But how much do you guys think about him?
A lot.
There's almost not a single day I can go thinking about him. It's just he had passion for the sport like no other. His passion was as great as Aaron Blaze's because he wanted to travel as well. He wanted to travel just like we did, and it's just without him. Like when we made him our first Nitro champion, and because I wanted him to be first Nitro champion. I talked to everybody else about it. I said, look, John didn't have to do this. I feel like we should show our appreciation 100%. I feel like he should beat me for the Nitro Championship to be first. And everybody else agreed. And just the rest is history from there. And his last match that was ever filmed was with Hunter Becker. And that still hurts Hunter to this day. I talked to Hunter about that about a week after his passing. I said, are you okay? And he's just like, no, I feel like it's my fault. And I'm just like, no, dude, it's not. John wouldn't blame you.
No,
but I said, if anything, John wants to keep going. And we're going to try to keep going for as long as we possibly can. 100%. I mean, John was the reason why RWA got off the ground as much as it did. That's why it's over 150 subscribers right now.
It's 161 because I gave you 2 subs. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
But, that's heavy, though, to go through that. And do you feel like in some ways you guys are fighting for him? This journey you're on, are you doing it in a little way for his memory? If that is a question I could ask you guys.
To an extent, yes.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. He was the reason we wanted to keep going. And because he told me a couple weeks before everything went down, he told me he wanted me to be his last opponent. And that brought tears to my eyes because I didn't know, because that made me think. I was like, John, why are you bringing this up? Because he talked about the things he was wanting to do in later years in his life, and he was talking about it right then and there, and something just didn't seem right. But whenever he told me that meant everything to me. That meant that he believed in me and he knew I could be something one day. And I wanted to prove to him that he can always count on me, that I would always be there, and that I'm always going to be someone that he can believe in.
But that's got to be heavy. You guys are still young men. And to go through something like that with him and his passing, it's never easy when we lose someone and someone that we love, but you guys are still young, and to go through that, it's got to be with heavy hearts. The only thing you can do is go forward and try to honor his memory. And if you'd like to follow the RWA, I'd actually like to put the link up here right for everybody here. And it's a small organization named after Bobby Rudda. And also you can check out information if you want to get in touch with Brett, you can here. And it's RWA 3411. So make sure you support them and support the Alliance. You'll see a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff actually with Brett and Will in the past, and you'll see some stuff there and different things, and go out there and support them. And most importantly, support these guys, as they're a huge part of things upcoming in PWF Mid-South, the 2 latest signees, and a huge part of things in UWA. Let me ask you guys, before I come up to an important question from Mr. Howell toward the end of the show in a few minutes, but SVBW, I mean, tell us about some of the things you've accomplished there for the audience.
SVBW, it was definitely it was
a ride.
It was definitely a ride, and for the most part, I enjoyed it.
I didn't.
And even though the show came to a close, and whenever the hardcore scramble match, oh dear God. Germ Ephobe, the Eagle, all of them, El Diablo. Good God. What was E.T. thinking?
I don't know. Was he even thinking at all?
I don't know.
That's the question E.T. is going to probably ponder and go, did they just say that live? Well, they just did. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, we just did.
What? I definitely had to take some time off of YouTube after that match. That was definitely something, especially with some things that the Eagles said during the match. My lord. But SVBW was definitely, I think, is what gave me the slap the fire under my ass that I needed to get going as a superstar, because they gave me a chance to run with the Valor Championship at the Dark Wolves Crown Championship tournament, and I pinned Mikey Reedy for it. Obviously, it was help from JD Mercer, and that honestly, it meant the world to me whenever I first won it. And I was told for the first defense I was doing, that I would be facing an old foe, as in Hunter Becker. Not, I love Hunter to death. We've had multiple bouts together. And
he's been a part of that company as well, so you have some crossover with Hunter there as well.
Oh, he is, and he cashed in on Jeremy Foe for the World Heavyweight title. Why do we make that damn thing World Champion?
I don't know.
Well, that's one of those. Maybe they'll do a Vice special on him. Why did we do this? Kind of like who killed WCW? We'll go back and look at the history of RWA and SVBW. We'll go, why did we make those moves? And ET will be there, and JD Mercer will still have a Cincinnati Reds hat on. You guys will be like, why do we still do it? And then we'll still never know the answer.
That's fair. And Hunter Becker right now is currently RWA World Champion, and we intend to make his run pretty good, because he is a solid champion. He's been multiple time world champions in other promotions. He's been a couple times world champion, a couple times at SVBW, ACBW, his own show, and GSBW, Glade Spring Backyard Wrestling. Glade Spring Backyard Wrestling was around for a couple years, and then it fell off for some reason. We don't even know exactly why.
I'm not
that's
sure.
a common thing in the yard. You know, you're a company, you're functioning for a couple years, and all of a sudden things happen, and you're wondering who's got control of the library.
Yeah, honestly, but SVBW, I feel like, was the reason why we was able to get to the UWAs, because
I was going to say the same thing, because we know the relationship. We spoke a little bit about that, I think, in prior shows, and even here at the top. I mean, obviously JD, ET, you guys being a part of that company helps you get to a platform in a big way in UWA, in a growing company. And I think that's a credit, to ET. You've talked about the relationship there, and I think that it leads you here. So at the end of the day, being in these companies, this is what it's also about: open collaboration. This is what it's about. All wrestling matters, and I think seeing relationships like Infinity, seeing things with SVBW and UWA, seeing RWA with you guys in SVBW, Aaron Blaze, right? YBW, that relationship with UWA. I think these are things that. This is what brings the community together. All too often we hear on Sportswire, oh, somebody shot, somebody. But the facts are is that this is living proof of collaboration. This is living proof of working together. Dalton Skull's got BYCW. BYCW has obviously been a part of things here in UWA. These are things that are for the greater good. So these are things that are actually the definition of all wrestling matters. And I think that this is, at the end of the day, no matter what the situation was, it's led you to improving. It's led you to where you are today and being here on this platform as well, I think.
Honestly, yeah, and we're 100% proud to be part of it. I mean, even technically, we are part of the Infinity stuff, I guess, because where PWF is a part of Infinity, and PWF Mid-South is, and UWA is as well. And if we did travel to BYCW, we'd be there as well. And we're 100% proud to be part of it. I mean, we're amazed that we're even a part of this community, and I'm grateful to be part of this community.
Same.
It's just,
and I'm happy you guys are here, and I'm happy you guys are here tonight to have a proper interview. I'm happy that we're getting a chance to hear your story. This is what it's about. Doing things to allow people to have their voice heard, giving people a chance that they can be shown in a way that's a productive way. And I think that there's a lot of great things that have been done in UWA, and I think that people are trying. I think there's a lot of things that we can go home and feel good about. All too often we hear things and we just hear the negative. But I mean, this is an example of everybody doing something to improve themselves. The SVBW guys like yourself going into UWA, RWA, SVBW. I would think about Dalton and BYCW, and I think the Infinity relationship, PWF Mid-South being a part of you guys with UWA. I think these are just a lot of things that really connect to people, and And obviously, these are things I'm excited about in the future. And, in the interest of time, I got a couple of questions first of all, one from Jake. He'd like to say, never had the pleasure to meet John, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. May he rest in peace. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. But this is a pressing one, which I want to get to before closing thoughts. Brett and Will are two of the best people in our company, very passionate, but they need to be a team. And we heard a little bit about teams on Monday's show. And, he puts that eyeball emoji there. And that's the thing that really caught my attention. They need to be a team. The shooter, Brett Anderson, the rising angel, Will Jackson. Do you guys need to be a team in the UWA?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
That'd be fun.
You'd love to, huh? And I could
Well,
see
especially
a UWA tag team division coming up there. Interesting.
I mean, technically, me and you have not been a team before.
Well, we heard the announcements about the UWA Tag Team Championships becoming a thing.
Platform, actually.
Yeah, I was watching the podcast and Jake announced it. I was like, well, Tag Team Championships does sound like a great idea. Never fought for them. Hopefully we get the chance to fight for them here. But I didn't expect it.
Each other right now in SVBW, you guys could be fighting aligned. And what better team would be in guys that know each other as well as you do? And if you think about tag teams in UWA, I mean, we know Dirty South is back, but they're occupied. The Mafia's future is just, to me, I think, in utter chaos and dissension. I mean, Aaron Blaze isn't exactly a tag team wrestler. So these could be tailor-made championships for you. Almost could have the names of the shooter, Brett Anderson, and the Rising Angel, Will Jackson on them. Maybe these titles were built for you.
Possibly.
I'd love to earn the championships, honestly. I mean, I've never fought for tag team championships before, but I mean, I'll be damned. It might be the first, but it sure as hell won't be the last.
It'd be at least a first for us, if anything.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a first for us, and I'd be grateful to be UWA Tag Team Champions.
I'm all for it.
And they always remember the first. They always remember who's the first champion. It's always the first one's the one that everybody remembers. Everybody after that, they'll remember him, sure. But to be the first of any sort, the first UWA Tag Team Champions, boy, it's a pretty impressive thing.
Right. And whenever it comes to the Dirty South and the Midwest Mafia, I don't have anything against the Midwest Mafia. Hopefully they do get everything situated. But, oh my, yeah, it is in complete and utter chaos. But the Dirty South, I have to agree with Aaron Blaze. Why do they call it the Dirty South?
Yeah, I don't know if that's something I want to talk about or elaborate on the air. I mean, obviously, you guys have to share a locker room with those guys. I'm not quite sure why or what that might be. I mean, I guess maybe their tactics are dirty, and that's why they want to win titles, I suppose. I don't want to get into the hygiene questions. After all,
That's a good way to think about
it. That's the only logical reason I could think about, and I hope that is the reason. I hope Aaron Blaze isn't right.
Well, I'll tell you what. Not that I really want to do this, but I'm sure that Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Taylor will be on Sportswire in the next few weeks, and I suppose I'll ask that question. I'll certainly suppose I'll do that. I mean, I don't know if I really want to, but if you'd like to instead buy some merchandise, we have the UWA store, which is now officially up on TeePublic, and you got some deals here. You got the UWA logo, red and white, $16, pretty damn good deal. CJ shirt, Tristan Taylor's shirts on sale. You got the UWA logo. You got some other things here in the store. You got Chase Sullivan. I don't know why is there more Chase Sullivan shirts than him, but we got a Brett Anderson shirt. That's a good one. You got J.D. Mercer, obviously, in the house. You got some really, really good shirts here. BYCW merchandise is on here. You got just a lot of great things that you want to select to support the UWA. Definitely do that, and it goes a long way in helping the UWA succeed and grow. And I always tell everybody that all I wear these days is wrestling shirts. So everything in my wardrobe is a wrestling shirt. And I'm sure in the next few weeks, I'm going to add a UWA shirt to the wardrobe. Because after all, I have pretty much everybody else's shirt. Now that you guys have a merchandise store, it means that I need to go join because you guys are a regular part of the rotation here on Sportzwire Radio. So make sure you go out and support the merchandise. Go out and support the cause. It's about all wrestling matters. We want to help everybody succeed. And also, if you want to support the UWA before we get to closing thoughts, you can check them out here. That's their links. They are also a part of Threads, Facebook, Instagram. Brett and Will are on Instagram. Check them out. They're also the newest members of the PWF Mid-South roster. Okay, so before I get to closing thoughts, let me ask you guys this question each. What do you want to say to the people that have heard you for the first time and why they should support you on this journey you're about to go on, which is going to reach bigger and better things, whether it's your growth in UWA, but is also now a part of the PWF Mid-South roster?
Well, if you don't believe in us now, we'll definitely give you something to believe in.
I agree.
And that is, honestly, now that I think about it, since you and I probably are a team now, your new UWA Tag Team Champions.
Oh, you want to talk about mic drop? You want to talk about bombshells? We started the show off with a bombshell announcement, but it sounds to me like they call him the shooter, Brett Anderson, for a reason, right? But it looks like he called his own shot, ladies and gentlemen. He called his shot that he's going to be one half of the first ever UWA Tag Team Champions. And that's going to come sooner rather than later. And the Rising Angel, Will Jackson, when he's back out there in UWA, he's going to be the other half. And they always remember who's the first of anything. And boy, what a way to make an impact in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit in 2024 by being the first ever UWA Tag Team Champions. We've got some great stuff ahead in UWA. Last Rites is going to be out later this month. We have a new show, Underground Alliance, I believe. It's Underground Challenge. Check that out on the UWA page. You're going to see some new content there with that. We've got the big show ahead in August. I mean, a lot of great stuff ahead in UWA. You might want to go out and support them. Again, one more time on YouTube. They're almost at 600 subscribers. So hit the sub button for them. I'm going to put the link up here one more time. But you're going to definitely want to tune into all things related to UWA because Brett Anderson and Will Jackson have called their own shot and that they are going to wind up becoming the first ever UWA Tag Team Champions. Boy, they started with a bang. They closed with a bang. They said, you know what? We saw what Jay Cal said on Monday's show. We saw what happened between him and Chase Sullivan. And I know you guys want to get those tag team titles, especially after what Chase Sullivan did to your mentor, E.T. You want to make sure the Dirty South don't ever have any chance of sniffing those titles. And after all, if Baron Blaze said they're dirty, we don't want them sniffing anything. So you definitely want to make sure. You definitely want to make sure that they don't hold those championships. I thought it would be funny. I thought somebody would laugh at that, but obviously.
Well, it definitely was.
Well, you know what? I'm sure that's going to certainly send some shockwaves in the UWA locker room. Maybe some guys might like it, some guys might not, but obviously, I'm sure we'll find out here. But you know what, guys? I know we've talked a lot tonight, and I hope that we can have you guys come back on. Maybe we'll see you guys in tag team action. I want to see you guys out there more. So hopefully maybe next month on the show, we'll have you on, maybe talk about some other things. Had a lot of fun tonight, and want to give you the guys the opportunity to speak and say anything else in closing thoughts. So I'm going to start with you first, Will, the Rising Angel. Give me some Rising Angel-like closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, and say. I pass the baton to you tonight.
Well, thank you. I just appreciate the chance to be on here. I appreciate everybody that supported me and Brett and all the companies that we've been part of. And just, I'm sure people look forward to seeing me and Brett tag teaming together. And I honestly look forward to spraying my wings and flying off into the sunset, if you know what I mean.
Ooh.
And as for those tag team belts, as you said, they might be made for us, so I'm pretty sure that's got our names written all over them.
You know what? You want to go on this journey and see if Will Jackson, the Rising Angel, is going to rise to gold in the UWA, the Underground Wrestling Alliance? That's his Instagram page. Go out and follow this young man on this journey because it very well could be you want to talk about bigger rising stars this year in this circuit. He could be one of those names. You definitely want to go out there and support him. That's his link there. And he's obviously been very successful in SVBW United States champion. He's had a lot of success in RWA and many other places. And I have no doubt he's going to use that success to lead him to championship gold as potentially one half of those first ever UWA tag team champions. So we'll certainly look forward to seeing that here. And for you, Mr. Brett Anderson, the shooter, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you'd like to plug, share, or say? And I now give you the same opportunity. The floor is yours, my friend. Be my guest.
Well, I definitely agree with Will when it comes to the tag team championships. I'll be damned if those belts don't have our names written on them, and I'll be damned if the Dirty South gets them, especially after what Chase Sullivan did to ET. But also, I want to thank Jake Howell for showing his appreciation towards me and saying that he believes in me to be the future of the Underground Wrestling Alliance on Monday. And it definitely meant a lot to me for the compliments he did give me. And it made me realize how much of an impact one person can make on your entire career. And I believe that Jake Howell has just has definitely made me realize how special one person can be if you just let them know how special they really are. And I'm going to prove it to Jake Howell myself that I'm going to prove him right by telling me how good I was and how good I am in the mat. And yes, I'm usually silent whenever I am out there, but as you said, if you can't, just because you can wrestle doesn't mean that it speaks for you all the time. So I'm definitely going to be saying some things out there. Definitely.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I have no doubt that you're going to make a lot of people proud. And you're absolutely right. You never know the impact you can have on somebody. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything to do something to help someone. And Jake Howell, what this man has done is helped you guys by giving you guys an opportunity to be on a larger platform, in a bigger stage, in a ring, in the Underground Wrestling Alliance. You guys were also a part of that special day on July 8th, 2024. We acknowledge it, UWA Day. You guys were a part of that. I know that banner is going to be there in the UWA arena, a very special thing that when you guys go back out there in that ring, you're going to see that banner. It's almost going to be like when a team hangs up a banner, when they win a championship or there's something special, whatever it is, you guys now have a banner that you can be proud of, to be motivated. You're going to see this. And it's going to be also motivating you, just like you're going to potentially be those first ever UWA Tag Team Champions. And if you want to follow Brett Anderson, that is his Instagram. Very simple, right to the point. Brett_Anderson_official. UWA Underground Wrestling Alliance. YouTube, Instagram, Threads. Also, check them out on TeePublic. A lot of great things ahead. More UWA coverages ahead here on Sportswire Radio. I can't wait for Last Rights. I can't wait for more news flashes with ET. I can't wait to see this whole situation with Jake Howell and Chase Sullivan unfold. After they're having a submission match, and it's a non-title match, but we'll see if that leads to them getting more into that Heritage Hall situation. Sammy Slade's open challenges ahead. Tristan Taylor is going to be out there with CJ, Aaron Blaze, and Mikey Reedy. And also a lot more ahead in the UWA. One more time, the newest members of the PWF Mid-South roster are the shooter Brett Anderson and the rising angel Will Jackson. A lot to look forward to for sure. Gentlemen, congratulations on all the success. Looking forward to watching you in not one but two companies in the PWF Mid-South and UWA, and seeing what you guys also do and whatever comes of SVBW and RWA. And thank you so much for your time. Want to congratulate you on your success. You're welcome here anytime, and hope to see you guys back here in the next month or so.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, it definitely was better than that last one you did. Probably that one. Now you can take that one.
Right. You damn
I'm
right.
sure that's going to be a topic now in the UWA locker room. What was that one he did? And they're going to watch it and go, oh, okay, that one doesn't count. That one doesn't count.
Guaranteed they'll be questioning me whenever we go back there.
No, I'm
True.
sure. Trust me. When and the name comes up, it'll definitely. I'm sure it'll be one to talk about. This one, I can assure you, will not be the case. But that's why, ladies and gentlemen, that is the story of the shooter Brett Anderson and the rising angel Will Jackson, the newest members of the PWF Mid South roster. They're also potentially could be the first UWA Tag Team Champion. That's why you want to go support these guys on their journey. Brett _Anderson_ official, Will _Jackson _official on Instagram. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. And I'm here now today, New York time, tomorrow in their time zone, because I'm going to be here live with Big Man Cam of XCW ROBW, and he was at Summer Bash, and he's going to have a lot to say. He's as big as Bigfoot, and he's got a big following on TikTok. He's going to talk about all of that here and some, so be there for that. And plus, I'll have a major announcement because Friday, I've got two really big guests ahead, but you'll want to tune in on tomorrow's show just on who they are. But until then, if you're on Sportswire Radio, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and X, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share and like, and also follow the UWA and follow us here on Sportswire Radio. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all